Here's something most traditional marketing for therapists advice won't tell you. Being political in your marketing isn't a liability. It might be your biggest asset. I polled therapists about what they think about this, and the answer surprised me. Stick around to see what they said and why I think you should be talking politics in your practice marketing. Hey there, I'm Kristie Plantiga, and I'm the founder of Place Digital, a boutique marketing agency for therapists. This is Practice Marketing Insider. Each week, I examine one piece of outdated or overblown marketing advice for therapists and explain why it's inaccurate and what you should be doing instead. As with all things in marketing, it's very true that if you're for everyone, you're for no one. It's much tougher to market a generalist than it is to market a specialist. For your marketing to be effective, you should be speaking to a specific person. But this is often different than the training that therapists receive. Since you're supposed to be the blank slate, it feels wrong, probably, to have those political beliefs very open on your website and in your content. But that's becoming more and more important to more people. Not only is it a differentiating factor, but it might be the very thing that draws in just the right clients for you. Having an opinion is a distinct marketing advantage. You're going to stick out to the right person, and you may actually avoid the sorts of clients that you don't really want to work with. And for some clients, certain political beliefs are non-negotiables. If I'm a queer person and I'm looking for a safe space, I do not want to start working with a therapist that I'm not 100% sure would provide that safe space for me. The same goes if a person has any number of marginalized identities. Additionally, political content does perform well. I'm not saying that all of your content should revolve around politics, unless that's your brand, of course, but content that performs better is typically content that is polarizing. And politics, by nature, are very polarizing. Of course, you want to be really, really responsible with this. We have seen so much divisiveness in our country and around the world because of the polarization of our social feeds. But I think it's okay for therapists to engage with politics and social justice if it's in line with their values and beliefs as a therapist. Although I've mostly been referring to social media at this point, I think it's also worth thinking about how this plays out on Google and with AI tools. As I've discussed on the show before, AI and search engines are slowly merging. So the way people interact with search engines might become more conversational, like when someone uses ChatGPT or Gemini. If you are a therapist that works with marginalized populations, your ideal clients might actually be using these AI tools to surface therapists that they know are safe for them. And if you're not explicit enough about that on your website, that might not be enough to actually get surfaced by these tools. But Google crawlers can't read the contents of a badge at this time. So having things more explicitly stated on your website could actually help you from an SEO perspective. For example, if you're a Black therapist and your ideal clients are Black, you could have a page on your website mentioning that you are a Black therapist in your city, which is great for SEO, and the sorts of unique issues that Black people bring to therapy. It doesn't have to be a whole political manifesto. It can be as simple as acknowledging a specific type of person on your website and the sorts of things that brings them to therapy in light of their identity. Now, for less of the marketing side and more of the human side. This is where things are really important for me personally. I do think that therapy is political because the spaces that people occupy are often the very things that traumatize them, and politics touch just about everything in our society. So if we leave politics out of marketing, we may be willfully ignoring the very traumas that bring people to therapy. And if you're a therapist who takes issue with the sorts of traumas that marginalized people have to deal with, you should not be working with those people. Please don't. You will very likely harm them again in an exceptionally vulnerable setting. I'm not a therapist, and I'm not the person you should listen to when it comes to the ethical side of things, but that seems very obvious to me. So in that sense, I think you have a responsibility to be very upfront about your politics. Do all of your opinions have to be bulleted out in a list on your website? Do you need to mention who you voted for since you were 18? No. But I think the things that matter to your clients and their healing should be pretty explicit. They should be able to tell fairly quickly when they're looking at your website or your social media profiles who you are and what you stand for. If you can't tell, I am super passionate about accurate, high-quality marketing education for therapists in private practice. I am now offering a free 15-minute call for therapists scaling group practices who want my honest opinion on their current marketing situation. I've worked with dozens of group practices, hundreds of solo practitioners, spoken to thousands. I've truly seen it all at this point. So if you'd like to pick my brain for a little while, you can head to practicemarketinginsider.com to book that free 15-minute call if you're a group practice owner scaling your practice. And now, back to the show. Here's another thing I want to emphasize. You. I remember 2 different therapists that I've had this conversation with about whether or not politics belong in private practice marketing or even in session. What's interesting about both of these therapists is that they both have marginalized identities, but they had different opinions. One said that he didn't believe that politics belonged in the therapy room. He thinks therapists should impress their own beliefs upon their clients because that's not the therapist's responsibility. It's actually, in his opinion, an overstep. Another therapist that I worked with in the past wanted to make it very clear who she worked with on her website because she just wasn't interested in working with certain types of people. This second therapist is the person who really shaped my beliefs on this. You, as a therapist, need to protect yourself too. You should not have to worry about dodging micro or macro aggressions while providing treatment. In this conversation about politics and therapy marketing, I know your first assumption, even when you heard the title of this episode, was, is this appropriate for my clients? I doubt that you heard this topic and thought about yourself first. Is this appropriate for me? Is this the best thing for me, my practice, and my well-being? I want to encourage you to be very, very selfish in this. I know that not many people have told you to be selfish in your training and education, but I don't think you have to help everyone. You don't have to help people who will harm you. Another therapist can do that work. So being political in your marketing also helps you protect yourself, and that is just as important as protecting your clients. Therapists are my people. I've dedicated my career to helping therapists, so I'm always going to be the one that's looking out for them more. I want to emphasize that it's not unfair to think of yourself first when it comes to bringing your politics into your marketing. So what do other therapists think about this? Here's what I learned from the polls I shared on social. I put up a poll on LinkedIn and Instagram, and it said exactly this. Do politics belong in private practice marketing? I intentionally kept the question vague. I didn't want to define politics. The word politics itself, I think, brings up different feelings for people. For me, politics and social justice are essentially the same thing at this point, but I didn't define it in my poll because I wanted to leave it very open-ended. On LinkedIn, I got 49 votes. 55% of people said yes, politics do belong in private practice marketing, and 49% said no. Interestingly, after a little discussion with one voter, she said that she would actually change her vote to yes. So on LinkedIn, therapists are almost equally split on this issue, and only marginally leaning towards yes. Now here's what's interesting. I asked my Instagram audience the same question, and 23 people voted that yes, politics absolutely have a place in private practice marketing. That was 80% of respondents. And then 3 people said no, which is only 12%. Here's what those results told me. Most therapists do think that politics have a place in their marketing, but there may be a generational difference. The average user of LinkedIn is older than on Instagram, so perhaps younger generations of therapists see the place of politics in marketing differently. So there you have it. Another episode that doesn't necessarily have a clear-cut myth and replacement strategy, but instead an invitation to think about what you actually believe. I believe that politics belong in therapy marketing, not because it's trendy or controversial, but because it's honest. It helps you attract the right clients and repel the wrong ones. It helps those clients know that they're safe when they're with you. And it helps protect you from having to work with people who will harm you. Your politics aren't a liability. They're an asset. They're a filter. They might be exactly what draws ideal clients to your door. And that's it for this week's episode. If you want to connect, you can find me on LinkedIn or Instagram at Kristie_PlaceDigital. If you're interested in working with me and my team, you can head over to placedigital.com. I'm Kristie Plantinga. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.